In the early 1300s, Anatolia was a fragmented landscape of tiny, competing states. Among them was a small nomadic tribe camped in the rugged hills, seemingly just another transient group on the move. But watch what happens to that single point on this map over the next few centuries. The borders of this obscure tribe expanded outward, ultimately swallowing the Balkans, Egypt, and North Africa. This growth defied the logic of the era. While long-established neighbors like the Byzantine and Seljuk empires were actively fracturing into smaller pieces, this one group steadily scaled up. Conquering land is difficult, but history is full of armies that seized vast territories only to lose them. The real administrative challenge is preventing a rapidly expanding, multi-ethnic empire from instantly collapsing under its own weight. The Ottomans succeeded by building an administrative machine, a three-part system designed to integrate every new province into the heart of the state. The first engine was military. At the time, European armies were generally temporary feudal levies, peasants called up to fight for a season and then sent home. The Ottomans took a different approach by creating the Janissaries. As you can see in this vintage illustration, these troops were highly regimented, functioning as a full-time, professional standing army trained exclusively for war. The ultimate test for this military engine came in 1516, during a conflict against the Egypt-based Mamluk Sultanate. The Mamluks relied on elite bow-wielding cavalry. The Ottomans, however, arrived with modernized musket-bearing infantry and mobile field artillery. The use of mobile field artillery and muskets broke the Mamluk defenses, instantly doubling the empire's size and securing control over the world's most lucrative trade routes. But incorporating millions of new subjects with a standing army creates an immediate financial burden. Military force can seize territory, but it is too expensive to maintain a peaceful empire over the long term. Once you incorporate a diverse population of non-Muslim subjects, you face a new administrative challenge, stopping them from constantly rebelling against a foreign ruler. The answer was the civic engine, known as the millet system. Looking at this photograph of a Balkan town, the prominent church spire is a direct result of how this system operated in Christian-majority regions. Instead of forcing assimilation, the state granted non-Muslim communities the autonomy to govern themselves. They were allowed to follow their own religious laws, run their own schools, and manage their own local infrastructure. This arrangement was transactional. Local autonomy was guaranteed only as long as the communities paid their taxes and kept the peace. This policy of religious tolerance served as a calculating and effective expansion strategy. It systematically removed the friction that causes large empires to fracture. The final challenge was unifying this sprawling military and civic apparatus under a single, unquestionable central authority, run from centralized hubs like the Sublime Porte. When the Ottomans conquered Egypt in 1517, they also gained control over Islam's holiest cities, Mecca and Medina. This granted the empire spiritual leverage. Possessing these holy sites allowed Sultan Selim I and his successors to claim the title of Universal Caliph, positioning themselves as the leaders of the global Muslim world. Suleiman the Magnificent later solidified this authority by codifying Qanun, a universal secular legal code that functioned alongside traditional Sharia law to govern the entire empire. This ideological engine provided the state with ultimate religious and legal legitimacy. It allowed the government to frame expansion and taxation not as royal greed, but as the defense of faith and divine order. By coordinating professional military force with local autonomy and centralized religious authority, the state created a system where military conquest was immediately followed by administrative stabilization. This specific blueprint proved durable, allowing the Ottoman Empire to survive for over 600 years, while nearly all contemporary rivals vanished. But by the early 20th century, the pressures of industrialized warfare proved too much for the aging system. Under the strain of World War I, this multi-ethnic tapestry finally began to unravel. The fracture of this centuries-old integration system left behind a geopolitical vacuum that European powers aggressively carved up. This map shows the transition from unified Ottoman territory to the straight-line borders drawn by European powers. By replacing a 6th-century-old integration system with these rigid divisions, the post-war era left behind a legacy of territorial and ethnic tension that persists today.